The gaming industry is divided, and you can see it with the games that are gaining in popularity nowadays. There's a big difference between the content that they're putting out and the content that was coming out from Western game developers just this past few years, where we have games like Marvel Rivals getting the attention of gamers by doing things that have always led to success, beautiful character designs and actual interactive gameplay. And we're getting the opposite reaction from Activision Blizzard, the game developers behind Overwatch and a whole host of other PvP games that are trying to double down on the ideas that led to the unsuccessful conclusion that they're seeing this past year, where gamers are turning away from their games and they're going for options that are more inclined to actually entertain the gamers and give them what they want. I think this is the divide that we're seeing in the gaming industry today, where we're seeing game developers that once championed censorship, once championed all the ideals that Overwatch and Activision Blizzard had in mind when they were developing games, actually turn back on those values. And that is the case with Square Enix, which was famously known for censorship against mods, was very highly exclusive with where they released their material and their games. And I think that's the opposite we're seeing, where Square Enix is backtracking on all the censorship claims that they said and did in the previous iterations of the game, where they're coming out and say, we love the mods that are making characters more attractive. Rather than the hatred that they had before, they're leaning towards a more healing factor when it comes to their relationship with gamers. And that's a similar thing that we're seeing with Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo, where they're releasing Ninja Gaiden 2 and other Ninja Gaiden series remakes and remasters with quality designs that are much in line with what we saw in the previous iterations of the game. I think this is a testament to the change and healing factor that's happening in the gaming industry today, where developers are really delivering on their promises to gamers. And I think that is a situation where we have a healing factor within the industry, where developers are seeking to actually build their relationship with gamers and actually give them the things that they want and desire in the games that they're actually purchasing. And I think that is the good and positive that we're seeing in the gaming industry today, where developers are more interested in producing content that the gamers are readily to approve of. And I think that's what we're seeing with the rise of modding, with the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that is drawing in large numbers on Steam, and we're seeing that continue on with a whole host of other franchises that are outside of the Western games development sphere. But that divide is equally extreme in the opposite end that we're seeing with a lot of developers like Activision Blizzard, where we have people within their teams expressing their hatred and actual animosity against the gamers themselves for not placating to their demands and overall acceptance of their political philosophy and ideology that they want to impose through the games that they release. And I think that's the sad state of affairs that we're seeing churn out in the gaming industry, like Ubisoft. Even though it's backpedaling in some of the claims that they had for Assassin's Creed Shadows, where they're trying to put Yasuke as some cultural historical figure, and whatever they were making within the game is actual facts and true, and they called Japanese people racist for not agreeing with their personal history of Japan. They backtrack a little bit on that claim, but that still is leading to the failure of the company itself, and they're still putting out content that is disengaging to the gamer base with Assassin's Creed Shadows, where gamers are playing this game noticing the problems with the accuracy of the game itself. And I think this is just the problem that they had, where they're trying to say this is historical, and now people are going to notice the historical inaccuracies within your game when you put out this content with a historical perspective, and you glaringly have the obviously most defective historical perspective, where you're trying to say Yasuke was a samurai and the evidence is just not there. So people are going to notice when you have out of season watermelons, when you have sakura trees growing in the wrong period, and when you have vegetables that don't exist during that time, people are going to notice these things when you're saying your historical accuracy was the utmost importance, because we're going to see that you didn't really live up to that claim. And I think that's the thing people are noticing with even some of the character designs, where people are looking at these character designs and saying this is decidedly more Chinese looking faces, not the Japanese faces of that period, because they are very different people. If you do look at the genealogy between Japanese and Chinese people, they have very distinct genealogical backgrounds, and I think people are just noticing every single detail they can about this game to actually attack it. And I think it's their fault for putting themselves in that position, but that is a situation that we're seeing play out in the gaming industry, where the divide is so strong that game developers are losing ground with the gamer and player base. And I think Electronic Arts is losing the most ground as this stock tumbles over the past few years with the mistakes they've been making with the games that they've been developing. You can see this with the developers at Activision Blizzard actually still taking a stand against the gamers consistently with the content that they're putting out, where you have the Activision Blizzard president coming coming out saying we're going to double down on the qualities that the gamers actually dislike about their gaming content, where they're going to double down on DEI, ESG. They're going to continue to increase the employment opportunities for people around that. They're going to increase their effect on the games that they push out and produce, and that has just led to poor quality design for a lot of the games that they have pushed out for the past few years, where we have this focus on these cultural elements, these ideologies that have nothing to do with a consistent quality game structure that gamers will be increasingly more interested to play. And the president for Activision, he says, to be clear, this work will continue and is extremely important to everything that we do. Our inclusive growth team has made great strides in helping us weave inclusivity to all aspects of business. And of course, if you know anything about the DEI elements that have invaded the video gaming space, they led to atrocious character designs that we've been seeing in the market for the past few years, where the marketability of a lot of characters just went by the wayside, where we were just focusing on creating characters that were at their peak ugliness as possible and promoting those characters as the faces of franchises. And you see the opposite with games that are having massive success in the video gaming industry. You just look at Marvel Rivals, Stellar Blade. You just look at the most recent Ninja Gaiden for Koei Tecmo, that is also associated with Xbox and Microsoft. They're releasing games that are actually pleasing the fan base with their overall character designs and meaningful gameplay. And this is the thing that DEI doesn't focus on. It doesn't focus on bringing the talent that is interested in producing quality games, and it brings in people with an ideological bent that is focused on stripping away the qualities that gamers are attracted to when they purchase a game. So when you look at Activision Blizzard and their stock tumbling at a massive degree, you know it's because they are bringing in the wrong people to produce the content that is strictly made for gamers. And I think that is a situation where we're seeing the divide grow even stronger, where we have Activision Blizzard doubling down on bringing these elements that have tore down their entire industry, and you have even people working at these companies saying they want to execute all people that were on the opposite party that are supporting the current 47th president, where you have a person saying eliminate your local MAGA. And I think that is the situation we're seeing within the industry itself, this hateful rhetoric where one side really wants to eliminate the people that don't agree with their personal ideology. And I think those are the people being hired, promoted, and given the authority to produce content within a lot of these game developers right now. And I think this hatred is leading to this great divide, where you have Marvel Rivals dominating the industry because it's making something that gamers obviously want to play, and you have Overwatch losing ground in the industry because it's trying to focus on elements that gamers do not care about, like DEI, like inclusivity, like these elements that don't bring joy or fun to the gamers themselves. And it's just mainly a virtue signaling post for the people that are working within this industry that just want to get more notice for their ideology rather than the success of the games that they actually put out there. And this is leading to massive layoffs that we're seeing with Ubisoft and other gaming studios that have promoted these ideals. It's the great divide that is ruining the gaming industry, and it's just shaking out the strong from the weak. We see Square Enix kind of now promoting gamers in a positive light. They're not bashing the gamers. We see Koei Tecmo, which was moving towards censorship, now is in the opposite direction. They're supporting games like Ninja Gaiden. They're supporting games that are in a positive light for the gamers, and they're not trying to bash them anymore. While you're seeing the opposite happen with the people that are in Western game development studios, and that's Microsoft itself, where we have people actively promoting the elimination of their political opposition. And I think that's the unfortunate case that we're seeing spread throughout the gaming industry, where we have a support here in Activision of just destruction of the content that they're producing. And I think that is the thing that we're seeing with a lot of the people that are working in the industry today. They don't want to lose political ground on the things that they want to see actually shape the gaming industry. And unfortunately for them, they don't get to decide what gamers want. And I think that is the confusion with a lot of the people in the gaming industry today. They feel like they have the power to control what gamers actually accept and what is successful, and that is just not the case. This is not the Hollywood business where you can just decide winners. It's not the music industry where you can decide who's the winner, what is the culture of the moment. That is not the case. Gamers choose. This is more representative of what the customer actually wants, and if the customer want something that looks good, that is fun, that is engaging, that can keep their attention for hours, and it's just not pandering to them about these political, social ideologies, and the gamers will get that. And I think that's what we're getting from other parties, because we're in a capitalistic society where if you make something that customers want, they're gonna go to your business, and you can't ban them out of existence. These Chinese developers, these Korean developers, these Japanese developers, you can't ban them. People say they can ban TikTok, but this is gonna be a harder sell to ban a random gaming studio, and I think that is a situation a lot of game developers have to realize. This divide is real, and the divide is going to decide who are the winners and losers in the future of the gaming industry. And I think a lot of people already know a lot of Asian developers are leaning towards winning because they actually care about making money. And of course, what we see from Activision Blizzard and Microsoft and Xbox, we see people that honestly hate the gamers, and that is just a situation I'm seeing right now. This is a great divide in the video gaming industry. I wonder how long it will last and who will be the winners and losers. We already see Ubisoft losing, we see EA Games losing, and maybe there'll be a whole lot more. And I think Square Enix and a lot of other developers are gonna go to the winning side. But you leave a comment, tell me what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.